Hey guys, welcome to the fifth part of the violin introduction. Previously, we have discussed its playing techniques. We hope you have learned a lot about it from the previous video. If you have not seen it, then you can catch up with the video by clicking the link in description. Let's move forward. Here in today's video, we are going to learn about the various musical styles. Therefore, before we begin, if you are new to this channel and like the content what we post, then you should go and hit the subscribe button and push the bell icon so that you will never miss this kind of exciting videos when we upload them. Let's get started. Since the Baroque era, the violin has been one of the most important of all instruments in classical music for several reasons. The tone of the violin stands out above other instruments, making it appropriate for playing a melody line. In the hands of a good player, the violin is extremely agile and can execute rapid and difficult sequence of notes. Violins make up a large part of an orchestra and are usually divided into two sections known as the first and second violins. Composers often assign the melody to the first violins, typically a more difficult part using higher positions, while second violins play harmony, accompaniment patterns or the melody an octave lower than the first violin. A string quartet similarly has a part for first and second violins, as well as a viola part and a bass instrument such as the cello or rarely the double bass. Let's look violin in jazz music. The earliest reference to jazz performance using the violin as a solo instrument are documented during the first decades of the 20th century. Joe Venotti, one of the first jazz violinists, is known for his work with guitarist Eddie Lang during the 1920s. Since that time, there have been many improvising violinists including Stephen Grappelli, Stuff Smith, Eddie South, Regina Carter, Johnny Frigo, John Blake, Adam Tobbits, Leroy Jenkins, and Jean-Luc Ponty. While not primarily jazz violinists, Darrell Anger and Mark Connor have spent significant parts of their careers playing jazz. The Swiss Cuban violinist Elian Canizers mixes jazz with Cuban music. Violins also appears in ensembles, supplying orchestral backgrounds to many jazz recordings. Violin is used in Indian classic music also. The Indian violin, while essentially the same instrument as that used in Western music, is different in some senses. The instrument is tuned so that the fourth and the third strings, G and D, on a Western tuned violin and the 2 and 1, that is A and E, strings are Sa, Pa, Dol, Sol, pairs and sound the same but are offset by an octave resembling common scottitura or fiddle cross tunings such as GD-GD or AE-AE. The tonic Sa is not fixed but variably tuned to accommodate the vocalist or lead player. The way the musician holds the instrument varies from Western to Indian music. In Indian music, the musician sits on the floor cross-legged with the right foot out in front of them. The scroll of the instrument rests on the foot. This position is essential to play well due to the nature of Indian music. The hand can move all over the fingerboard and there is no set position for the left hand. So, it is important for the violin to be in a steady, unmoving position. Violin has been used in many popular music styles. Up through at least the 1970s, most type of popular music used bowed string sections. They were extensively used in popular music throughout the 1920s and the early 1930s. With the rise of swing music, however, from 1935 to 1945, the string sound was often used to add to the fullness of big band music. Following the swing era from the late 1940s to the mid 1950s, strings began to revive in traditional pop music. This trend accelerated in the late 1960s with a significant revival of the use of strings, especially in soul music. Popular Motown recordings of the late 1960s and 70s relied heavily on string as part of the trademark texture. The rise of disco music in the 1970s continued this trend with the heavy use of string instruments in popular disco orchestras. For example, Love Unlimited Orchestra, Bidu Orchestra, Monster Orchestra, Salsoul Orchestra, MFSB. With the rise of electronically created music in the 1980s, violins declined in use as synthesized string sounds played by a keyboardist with a synthesizer took their place. However, while the violin has had very little usage in mainstream rock music, it has some history in progressive rock. Example, Electric Light Orchestra, Kim Crimson, Kansas, Gentle Giant. The 1973 album Contaminazione by Italy's RDM plays violins off against synthesizer as its finale, La Grande Fuga. The instrument has a stronger place in modern jazz fusion bands, notably the chorus. The fiddle is sometimes a part of British folk rock music, as exemplified by the likes of Fairport Conventions and Steel Span. The popularity of crossover music beginning in the last years of the 20th century has brought the violin back into the popular music arena, with both electric and acoustic violins being used by popular bands. Dave Matthews Band features violinist Boyd Tinsley. The Flocks featured violinist Jerry Goodman, who later joined the jazz rock fusion band the Mahavishnu Orchestra. James Saul Davis, who is also a guitarist, is enlisted by the band as a violinist. For their first three albums, the related singles, the British group No Man made extensive use of electric and acoustic solo violin as played by band member Ben Coleman, who played violin exclusively. Pop punk band Yellowcard has made a mainstay of violin in its music. Violinist Sean McCain has been a member of the band since 1997. Los Salvador also combined punk and ska influence with a violin. Doom metal band by Dying Bridge have been used violin as a part of their lineup throughout many of their albums. The violin appears prominently in the music of Spanish folk metal group Mago de Oz, for example in their 1998 hits Molinos de Viento. The violinist Carlos Prieto, aka Mohamed, has been one of the group's most popular members with the fans since 1992. The instrument is also used often in symphonic metal, particularly by bands such as Therion, Nightwish, Within Temptation, Haggard, and Epica, although it can be also found in gothic metal bands such as Tristania and Theatre of Tragedy. The alternative rock band Hertz vocalist plays violin for the band, making them one of a few rock bands to feature violin without hiring a session worker. The folk metal band Ithilien uses violin extensively along their discography. Progressive metal band Ne Obliviscaris features a violin player, Tim Charles, in their lineup. Independent artists such as Owen Pallett, The Shondists, and Andrew Bird have also spurred increased interest in the instrument. Indie bands have often embraced new and unusual arrangements, allowing them more freedom to feature the violin than many mainstream musical artists. It has been used in the past rock genre by bands such as Sigur Rós, Zox, Broken Social Scene, and A Silver Mount, Zion. The electric violin has even been used by bands like the Crook Shadows within the context of keyboard-based music. Lindsey Sterling plays the violin in conjunction with electronic dubstep, trance, riffs, and beats. Eric Stanley improvises on the violin with hip-hop music, pop, classical elements, and instrumental beats. The successful indie rock and baroque pop band Arcade Fire uses violins extensively in their arrangements. Indian, Turkish, and Arabic pop music is filled with the sound of violins, both soloist and ensembles. Violin in folk music and fiddling. Like many other instruments used in classical music, the violin descends from remote ancestors that were used for folk music. Following a stage of intensive development in the late Renaissance, largely in Italy, the violin had improved in volume, tone, and agility to the point that it not only became a very important instrument in art music but proved highly appealing to folk musicians as well, ultimately spreading very widely, sometimes displacing earlier board instruments. Ethnomusicologists have observed its widespread use in Europe, Asia, and the Americas. When played as a folk instrument, violin is usually referred to in English as a fiddle, although the term fiddle can be used informally no matter what the genre of music. Worldwide, there are various stringed instruments such as the wheel fiddle and Apache fiddle that are also called fiddles. Fiddle music differs from classical in that the tunes are generally considered dance music and various techniques such as droning, shuffling, and ornamentation specific to particular styles are used. In many traditions of folk music, the tunes are not written but are memorized by successive generations of musicians and passed on in what is known as the oral tradition. Many old-time pieces call for cross-tuning or using tunings other than standard G-D-A-E. Some players of American styles of folk fiddling such as bluegrass or old-time have their bridge top edge cut to a slightly flatter curve, making techniques such as double shuffle less taxing on the bow arm, as it reduces the range of motion needed for alternating between double stops on different string pairs. Fiddlers who use solid steel core strings may prefer to use a tailpiece with fine tuners on all four strings, instead of the single fine tuner on the E string used by many classical players. Violin in Arabic music. As well as the Arabic rabab, the violin has been used in Arabic music also. Well, that was the various music styles you'll find with violin. We hope you have understood today's concept here. If you have any queries, then feel free to contact us. You will find the contact details down in the description. If you have liked today's video, then don't forget to drop a like to it and share it with your family and friends so that even they get to know the various music styles of violin. Tune in with us in the 6th part of the violin introduction. To be notified when we upload the next part, you should go and hit the subscribe button down below and push the bell icon. You can follow us over Facebook and Instagram for more updates. Links are in the description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video very soon. Till then, you can watch the rest of the videos which are going to appear right now here on the screen. Enjoy it!